has blasted. Okay, has blasted to HQ colleagues. Okay, the first one is this Air Asia and Mus. Okay, they managed to set aside RM 10 million fine. This is a Court of Appeal reported its judgment on 27 April 2001. Okay, where it quashed the RM 10 million imposed upon Air Asia and Mus by MYCC. So MYCC is the body regulated under the Competition Act 2010. Okay, this just for your information, MyCC is the body regulating whether the corporation of the companies have breached this. Okay, apparently under this Competition Act there is a why this Competition Act is enacted. Okay, it's to encourage fair competition. So any practice or exercise that undermines this competition, for example, a market sharing, because when you do a market sharing or you collaborate or you market share, that means you no more compete with each other, right? That means if exercise like this market sharing, you already predetermine, okay, you take this, I take that, so you don't compete anymore. So that kind of exercise is prohibited under this Competition Act. Okay, so the purpose of this act is to encourage competition. So when MYCC found out, okay, there's this agreement between Air Asia and Mus to market sharing, so they impose a fine, it's prohibited under the act, so they impose a fine. And this Air Asia and Mus, of course, they went to, next slide, please. Okay, they went to their body of authorizing them from CAR, yeah? So they bring this to the tribunal, okay, the Competition Appeal Tribunal, which the tribunal has reversed the decision, okay, reversed the MYCC's decision to impose, okay. So that means you no need to pay. So this MYCC does not agree. That means it's aggrieved. So they file a judicial review against the decision of the tribunal. So it happens that until Court of Appeal state that they quash aside. That means the decision of the tribunal is correct. Okay, so MYCC cannot impose. So, and also because the judicial review, it also throws out the judicial review filed by MYCC because it says that it has no locus. Okay, it's not for MYCC to appeal. Okay, so this tribunal, it must follow, that means accept the decision of the tribunal. So there's no locus standi to file the judicial review. Okay, so next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. So, and also the court found that there was an agreement, okay, between this Air Asia and Mus. It was not disputed. They do have an agreement, but that agreement was signed before this act come into force. This act come into force in 2012, January 1. Okay, so the agreement was way back. Okay, so what happened is that this act does not apply to such agreement that come before this act, okay, that was entered before this act. Okay, it only regulates agreement that comes after this act is in force. So in a way that this agreement, even if it was entered, it cannot be, it was not applicable. Okay, this act was not applicable to that agreement. And also that agreement was not implemented anyway. It was not carried out. It was signed, but it's not carried out. So you can't have liability where the agreement is not carried out. Okay, so next slide. Okay, market. When you see market, okay, you have to define what is market. Career, service career and low cost career are the business model, they are not market. Okay, so when you say market sharing, what is that market? Okay, so MICC does not define. Okay, so if we say just aviation services, it was too broad. Okay, it was not correct, not accurate. Okay, next slide. Okay, before that, okay, this is another topic. So for you to understand better, you have to some of the basic provisions of the Competition Act that you have to know lah. I think we have one of HQ facts on this Competition Act before. It was way back in 2018 or 19, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, you can find that and have a look. Okay, that's the very basic explanation of Competition Act lah. Okay, for laymen. Okay, for laymen to understand. Okay, so this one, another one is PAM. Okay, PAM is short form we use for Pertubuhan Arkitek Malaysia lah, PM. Okay, so you have been hearing PAM contract here and there. Okay, and keep giving talk or has been mentioning about this. Okay, this one is very popular in construction industry. So just try to find out, okay, what is PAM contract and why people use this contract. So these contracts are the standard forms of building, okay, prepared by the Malaysian institutions or industrials such as Pertubuhan Arkitek Malaysia. Okay, if you compare, is this PAM contract same as our HDA's Schedule H under the Housing Development Form? Can you say they are the same type? Okay, my answer is not really, because Schedule H is a statutory form. Okay, this PAM is a standard contract, but it's not regulated under any statute. It's not like under Housing Development Act, but it's just a contract with standard forms that is in this industry, in this sector, in the construction sector. So there are various PAM contracts used for different kinds of situations according to the complexity. Okay, and there are contracts used extensively in the Malaysian building industry, and generally they are considered as the de facto, that means the default form of building contract. Okay, so next you go to why. Why we use contracts. Next slide. Okay, why people use PAM contracts? Okay, they are preferred by both employers and contractors. Okay, when we mention who are these employees, who are these contractors? Employers is the owner of that contract. Let's say usually it's the developer lah. Okay, let's say Masing. Okay, then they want to build their project. They will appoint contractors. So who are the employer? The employer is Masing lah. Okay, then who are the contractors? They are applying for contractors for piling works, contractors for various works. Okay, so they will usually prefer to use PAM contracts because they are practical. Okay, these forms already have the standard terms. Okay, and they already cover what liabilities to be contained inside. Okay, so you don't need to draft from scratch. Okay, and one of the reason also is to ameliorate, okay, a potentially fractious and a relationship between the employer, because this already you have the terms ready, so you can avoid a risky relationship by, okay, if you omit any terms in your drafting, if you're drafting from scratch, or okay, potentially fractious, so can they avoid all this because the terms are already standard and recognized there. Okay, so this is for optimum protection of interests of both parties lah, both the employer and the contractor. Okay, and so this one also ensure a common basis for comparison. Okay, when you submit for tender, when you want to get that contract, okay, from the employer. Okay, so there's a common basis for comparison. Okay, at least you know you're using this PAM contracts. and you evaluate the competing bids. Okay, when tender is some big project, there more than one contractor compete for the bids. Okay, so this regularize the legal relationship between parties in contract because of the terms, the standard terms. Next slide. Okay, so we say, okay, it's so good. So what is inside this contract? Okay, so we need to know. These are among some of the things that, some of the terms that is in that PAM contracts. Works to be carried out by the contractor. Okay, that means the scope of the work, you have to state it clearly. Okay, sum to be paid. Okay, that is very important. Okay, how much is the contract sum? Okay, between the employer and the contractor, and extent of the liabilities of the contractor for design or structural works. Okay, case because contractor, if you point for designer, all those they are also contractor. Okay, or structural works. Variation. Sometimes most of the, okay, you come across construction, then halfway you need to vary the works. Okay, then how's the procedure? Okay, well, if you need to vary the works. Okay, so these are all provided in the PAM contracts, and the procedure, not only the sum, how is it to be paid, or is it by stages? Is it by one lump sum? Okay, okay, all those are the stages where the payment has to be made. Okay, next. Okay, before that, do you have any question? This is another topic, Lee. Okay, if don't have, this is to one of the extract, okay, in the servant, okay, under the servants, that book, okay, is a simple essence of leadership, okay, that where laymen can understand. So one of the chapters is the model. So actually, when we say model, it's actually the leadership model, okay, that the book, okay, the author is adopting, okay. Is a servant's leadership model. So what is the model here? Okay, so the model based on one word, okay, one sentence, okay, one principle: to lead, you must serve. Okay, that's the very essence of leadership. Okay, leadership is not to be served, but is to serve. Okay, so what's leadership? It's the skill of influencing people, okay, to work enthusiastically towards goals identified to be for common good. Okay, well-being for the common good. See some of the keywords, influencing people, okay, not forcing people, okay, not compulsoring people to work enthusiastically, okay, see the word enthusiastically, okay, towards the goals identified for common good. So for leadership, this kind of leadership, to go to the distance, to tahan, okay, to withstand the test of time. Leadership is to build upon authority, or they use authority like in this chapter, okay, in this book, okay, actually is influence. Okay, so why you say, you ask why is it must be built upon influence? So it's very important that to distinguish, okay, it's not to be built upon power. So power and authority are two different things. What is power? Okay, power is you give, you lead, okay, or you lead based on your position, your power that you have. That is not authority. Okay, authority is different. Authority, you are leading upon, you are leading your people not based on your position, but based on who you are. Okay, the influence that you have. Okay, next slide. So how do we build influence with people? It's through service and sacrifice. Okay, during that session also we shared who are the, we gave some examples, okay, like Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa has no power, but she has influence. Okay, Martin Luther King, if you have heard of this great person in US, he has no power. He doesn't. It's not a minister, or it's not a whatever position, any position in government, but he has a lot of influence. Okay, so his story, these are two stories, and also Gandhi. Okay, these are some of the historical examples lah, how they build influence with people is through service and sacrifice. Okay, example of sacrifice you will see if that we have discussed before is how they are threatened, how they are imprisonment, how they are the things that they do lah, okay, to build the influence, to get the notice of the work of the things that they have gone through. Okay, and so how do they serve and sacrifice? It's by love. Okay, so that is why love is not a feeling. That's why we emphasize love is not a feeling. If you base on feeling, you won't feel like serving, right? So what is a love then? We will discuss this in the next our session, okay, in June, okay, and how love is a verb, okay, and love is built on will. So the leadership model is a pyramid upside down, not the usual pyramid that towards up that we see always. Okay, so that is for this influence, for this model, okay, the leadership, the servants leadership model that we are discussing, the pyramid is upside down. Okay, the sharp part is on the bottom. Okay, next slide. Okay, let me just summarize. Okay, this one of the participants, okay, in that book, they go for a leadership course. So at the end of the session, they summarize, okay, what that session is. So leadership begins with the will, okay, which our unique ability as human beings to align our intentions with our actions and choose our behavior. So with the proper will, we choose to love, which is about identifying and meeting legitimate needs. Okay, when we love, actually, we are identifying and meeting legitimate needs, but not wants. We meet needs, but we don't meet wants. Okay, if you meet wants, okay, that means includes all the desire. People will climb your head. Okay, so you meet needs, so you don't have to worry. People will climb your head. Okay. When we meet the needs of others, we will be called upon to serve and sacrifice. So when we serve and sacrifice for others, we build authority. That's where we build authority. That's how Mother Teresa built authorities. That's how Gandhi built authority. That's how Martin Luther built authority. So if they can, so can you. Okay, it applies not only to these historical people, it applies to every one of us. So when we build authority with people, then there we have earned the right to be called a leader. Okay, so we do also discuss, during the session, who in the real world, your life that you have met, that you can properly call a leader. So that time we do have a discussion. Some of us most of us, we gave, we think of our former bosses, okay, Kayu former bosses, me also, I think my former bosses, and Masato also former boss, right? So that's the sharing for that. Okay, if you're interested in the next, our session will be on the verb. Okay, how love is a verb. Okay, that's another interesting session. Do come if you're interested. Okay, and that's all for my sharing. Any question? Any question, Ivan? Any question, Yok Ying?
Tak ada.
No.
Ada.
Tak ada. No question.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, thank you for joining. Yeah.
Thank you, Poh Yee.
Thank you, Poh Yee.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.